They say when the EMP hits, the world won't end with sirens, it'll end with silence. No glow of streetlights, no rumble of engines, just one blinding pulse and the modern age flatlines. But survival from that moment forward won't be determined by what you owned, but by what you thought to grab, and sometimes the lifesavers are sitting on a dollar store shelf right now, waiting to be overlooked. An EMP, short for electromagnetic pulse, is a burst of intense electromagnetic energy that can instantly disable electronics and electrical systems over a wide area. An EMP doesn't care how expensive your gear is, it only cares whether it's connected to a circuit. With a single burst, phones, vehicles, ATMs, refrigerators, and most forms of modern communication could be rendered useless. When that happens, everything high-tech instantly becomes dead weight, and everything low-tech becomes priceless. That's why dollar stores suddenly transform into last-chance armories of practical survival tools most preppers never think about. No Wi-Fi, no power. All your smart gear is now silent plastic. The only thing that will carry you through is a small stash of simple, rugged, analog items that don't need batteries, apps, or electricity to keep you alive. Stay tuned, because item number 3 is the one veteran preppers swear they'll never live without, but beginners almost never buy in time. Number 10. Glow sticks and solar garden lights. When the power goes out, we quickly rediscover just how deep night truly is. In an EMP scenario, the first sensation most people experience isn't hunger, it's blindness. Without streetlights, house lights, signs, and car beams, even familiar terrain becomes unfamiliar and threatening. But while others reach for flashlights and start draining limited batteries in a panic, you pull out a handful of cheap glow sticks and solar garden lights you grab from the dollar store, and suddenly you control the darkness without wasting precious power. Glow sticks are unparalleled for stealth. They emit a low, subtle glow that lets you move through your own house, mark stairs, rooms, or trails without broadcasting your presence to people watching from the street. You can cut one open and paint a doorway or plug in a stake to make an escape path visible at 2 a.m. They're waterproof, they work instantly, and they don't rely on any modern technology, which means they still function when the entire grid is toast. Right beside them in that dusty aisle are solar garden lights. Most people buy them for patios, but smart preppers snap them up for something very different: passive recharging. Stick them in your yard, on a windowsill, or even duct tape them inside the top of a backpack during the day. By sunset, each one becomes a small, reusable lantern you can carry indoors to light your space without tapping into your power banks or generator. Pull the top off and you've got a handheld solar flashlight, no batteries required. They're cheap, reliable, and best of all, they don't look like preparedness gear. That means you can deploy them without alerting desperate neighbors that your home is prepped and ready when theirs goes dark. While everyone else wastes their precious batteries in emotional panic, you're saving your power reserves for critical moments: running communications, medical devices, navigational tools. Number 9. Manual can opener and kitchen tools. The second great wave of realization after an EMP hits isn't "I can't see," it's "I can't eat." People will flock to their pantries, confident in their towers of canned goods and long-term storage, only to freeze when they remember that every opener in their kitchen drawer is electric. This is where the $1 manual can opener becomes one of the most valuable tools you'll ever own. Because food that's sealed in metal is wasted food if you can't get it open safely. A sharp knife can work in a pinch, but do you really want to risk slashing your fingers when infections kill faster than bullets in off-grid conditions? A sturdy manual opener lets you quietly access nourishment with no sparks, noise, or danger. And when your stress levels are already through the roof, one smooth crank can feel like salvation. But it isn't just about cans. Dollar store spatulas, tongs, peelers, metal cups, and mixing bowls become essential for converting raw supplies into edible, morale-saving meals, especially when sanitation and injury risk are rising daily. Need to boil water over a fire or small stove? That metal camping-style mug from aisle 4 will survive flames where your glassware shatters. Need a cutting board to prepare food safely? Grab a cheap plastic one that's lightweight, washable, and disposable if it gets too contaminated. Even those rubberized jar openers everyone takes for granted can save sore hands when your strength is depleted after days of crisis. These tools don't need power, which means they work long after all your fancy electric kitchen tech becomes useless decoration. Most people assume their kitchen is ready because it's full of appliances, Preppers know better. Appliances are weak points. The dollar store manual tools may not look glamorous, but they do something far more crucial. They function reliably in a powerless world. Once the EMP hits, simplicity equals survivability. So while your neighbors curse every dead gadget they own, you'll still be cracking cans, boiling water, stirring soups, and staying nourished while the rest grow increasingly desperate. Number 8, heavy-duty trash bags. In a world where almost everything electronic has suddenly died, survival boils down to the simplest forms of utility, and it doesn't get simpler than a heavy-duty trash bag. Most people think of these only in terms of garbage disposal, but after an EMP, a thick contractor-grade trash bag becomes one of the most versatile emergency tools you'll ever own. Need a poncho during a rainstorm to stop hypothermia? Cut a hole in the bottom and sides, and you've got a waterproof cloak. Caught without a tent or tarp? Stuff a trash bag with leaves and grass, and it becomes insulation. Spread it across a patch of wet ground, and it becomes an instant sleeping pad. Tie off one end to a branch and stake the other into the ground. Suddenly, you have a makeshift rain shelter. Then comes sanitation. When indoor plumbing fails, and it always fails once power stations lose pressure and pumps, your toilet becomes a biohazard. A trash bag dropped into the bowl, wrapped over the rim, can instantly convert a useless toilet into a safe, replaceable waste container. Add a scoop of kitty litter or sawdust, and you've got odor control and disease prevention in one. If you're using a bucket as a toilet, a double layer of heavy bags becomes your primary line of defense against contamination. These bags don't just manage trash, they manage health. And trash bags aren't just about what you contain, they're about what you collect. Spread one open during a storm and angle it from a tree or roofline, and it becomes a water catcher. Stuff one into a backpack, and you've got a waterproof liner to keep your gear dry. Fold one into your pocket, and it can double as a makeshift sling, bandage wrap, windbreak, or even a temporary window patch to protect your home from rain and insects. During normal life, you forget they exist. After an EMP, you realize plastic, durable, waterproof material is one of the only things standing between you and exposure, sickness, or logistical failure. Smart preppers don't just grab a roll, they grab 10. Number 7, bleach and cleaning supplies. The moment an EMP shuts down your fridge, your stove, and your freezer, food safety becomes a ticking time bomb, not just a convenience issue. Raw meat spoils within hours, dairy curdles, and even cooked food can harbor deadly bacteria if not stored properly. But while the world scrambles to find light and warmth, it will be disease that cuts through unprepared households. That's why bleach becomes the single most important liquid after water. Unscented household bleach can purify drinking water, sterilize tools, disinfect wound surfaces, clean food prep areas, and stop bacterial spreads in their tracks. Without it, even a minor cut or a meal cooked on a dirty surface becomes an invitation to infection. With it, you maintain a clean bubble around your family in a world where medical help may never arrive. Pair bleach with dollar store brushes, gloves, scrub pads, dish soap, and sanitation spray bottles, and you hold back chaos with cleanliness. Stockpiling these isn't glamorous. It looks nothing like night vision goggles or tactical gear, and that's exactly why most people skip them. But when you've got no working fridge, you're suddenly washing everything by hand. Knives, bowls, utensils, your hands after each task. You need soap that lathers in cold water, gloves that prevent contamination, and cloths that can be washed and reused under rough conditions. What was once the chore you avoided now becomes a frontline survival tactic. Disease doesn't wait. Flies land on fish, mice nibble at crumbs, mold blossoms overnight inside a warm cabinet. After an EMP, your house decays faster than you imagine. Wiping surfaces with diluted bleach water once per day can stop salmonella, E. coli, and viruses dead in their tracks. You'll sleep easier knowing your kitchen isn't silently poisoning you. The thing about survivability is it isn't always about fighting an enemy. Sometimes it's about keeping the bacteria you can't see from turning your entire prep into a funeral. Bleach is cheap now. Cleaning supplies are everywhere now, but when they're gone, they'll be priceless, and the homes that stock them will be the ones left standing. Number 6, hand tools and utility blades. Most preppers talk about tools like they're accessories. Nice extras, things to worry about after the real crisis hits. But after an EMP, power drills, leaf blowers, electric saws, and fancy battery-operated devices are nothing more than useless hunks of metal and plastic. That's when the humble $1 hand tools step out of the shadows and reveal themselves as the backbone of real-world survival. Without electricity, everything becomes manual again. Need to board up a broken window? That's nails and elbow grease. Need to pry open a rusted door to salvage supplies? That's a crowbar, not a swipe of a keycard. Fix a broken latch, disassemble a dead appliance for parts, rig up a makeshift stove, or strip wire for traps and alarms. You can only do that with metal tools that require muscle, not watts. The utility blade becomes your do-everything edge. It cuts rope, shreds tarps, scores plastic, prepares fire kindling, processes small game, or slices duct tape lengths when you're repairing shelters. And when it dulls, you snap off a fresh segment or run it over a stone and start again. Pair that with pliers to pull nails, screwdrivers to assemble and disassemble gear, wrenches for nuts and bolts, and suddenly your hands become your workshop again. Having these basics on hand allows you to adapt to unexpected breakdowns, and every disaster is a chain reaction of breakdowns. Your only chance is improvisation, and improvised solutions require tools. But these tools aren't just about fixing, they're about building. With a few basic hand tools and some salvaged wood, you can create animal traps, drying racks for meat, wooden shutters for security, firewood holders, privacy screens, even primitive carts for moving heavy water containers. People who rely on pre-made gear will find their resources shrinking fast. Those with tools can keep building and reinforcing their conditions day after day. Once again, the dollar store delivers. These tools aren't built for fashion. They're built for function, and they'll outlast your electronics by years. Number 5. Rope, twine, and zip ties. In a post-EMP world, survival isn't just about what you have, it's about what you can make, and that means you need tools that can shape, bind, stitch, and secure your environment. Rope, twine, and zip ties are the unsung heroes of collapsed logistics. They serve as the duct tape of the powerless world, turning broken things into working tools and found scraps into functional gear. Let's start with rope. A simple nylon clothesline from a dollar store becomes your lifeline for everything from building makeshift shelters to hauling supplies out of reach of animals or desperate looters. Lash together poles to form tarp roofs for rain-catch systems, tie bundles of firewood for transport, create stretchers in a medical emergency, or hang game and tools to keep them sanitary. Twine, though smaller, is just as necessary. You can use it for setting snares and traps, fletching makeshift arrows, tying food bundles, reinforcing broken backpack straps, and securing blankets around windows to keep light sealed in and prying eyes out. Use twine to lash stakes for gardening, stake down wind-catching shelters, or mark off safe paths in buildings or woods. It's lightweight, takes up almost no room in your bag, but gives you the power to build and repair when modern tools lie silent. Then there are zip ties, ultra cheap, strangely strong, and irreplaceable once manufacturing stops. They cinch broken straps, bind improvised splints, fasten tools onto belts, and quiet rattling gear to keep you moving silent and unnoticed. Larger ties can attach makeshift armor or reinforce fence patches when wildlife starts circling. Small ties turn tarp edges into eyelets where none existed. You can make a fishing bobber, hang solar lights, bind water bags to trees, or secure a door shut silently from the inside. Their one-way locking nature gives them use even in self-defense, and binding hands in a crisis buys you precious seconds of escape or negotiation distance. Most people walk past these items every day in dollar stores, but in collapse, they transform from cheap, throwaway accessories into the very infrastructure of your self-made life. If you can shape your environment, you can survive almost anything, and rope, twine, and zip ties are how you shape. Stock them deep, stash them in bags, coat pockets, glove boxes, because at the end of the world, the person with the best knots may be the one still standing. Number 4. First aid basics. The most brutal truth of large-scale collapse isn't the violence, it's the injury you could have survived, but didn't. After an EMP, pharmacies won't just be busy, they'll be empty, scavenged within hours by frantic crowds desperate to grab anything with a label. Hospitals lose power, machines stop working, and supply deliveries cease. A tiny cut on day 1 can become blood poisoning by day 5. An ankle sprain on day 2 can turn into permanent disability by day 10. That's why having a real first aid cache is absolutely non-negotiable. Your top priority is bleeding control. A deep cut, puncture, or gunshot wound becomes a race against the clock with no ambulance in sight. You need compressive gauze pads to pack wounds, medical tape that sticks to sweaty skin, and elastic wraps to keep pressure constant under movement. Pair that with a quality tourniquet, not a flimsy imitation, but a combat application tourniquet or soft T that you practice using on your own leg and arm. Know how to apply it with one hand because you might only have one free hand when disaster strikes. Next is infection prevention. Hydrogen peroxide, povidone iodine, alcohol wipes. These are your battlefield cleaners. You flush, wipe, and dress wounds quickly before the microbes in the environment can climb in. Antibiotic ointment helps prevent surface infections, but you'll also need rolled gauze, abdominal pads, and medical tape to redress repeatedly every 12 to 24 hours. Gloves, especially nitrile ones that won't trigger latex allergies, protect both you and your patient. Once gloves are gone, you risk contaminating every treatment with your own bacteria. Then comes medication. Over-the-counter painkillers like acetaminophen and ibuprofen help reduce fever, swelling, toothaches, and general agony, which keeps spirits and functionality high. Antidiarrheals like loperamide are critical because dehydration from stomach sickness kills even faster than starvation. Antihistamines are necessary for allergic reactions. Even basic hydrating solutions like powdered electrolyte salt mixes can stave off life-threatening dehydration during illness, fever, or heat waves. The key point isn't just having these supplies, it's using them before a problem grows. Change bandages daily. Clean tools obsessively. Create a rotation system so nothing expires unnoticed. Put your kit in a bright red waterproof bag inside your bug-out stash or home base. Print a trauma treatment reference card and store it with the kit for moments when panic threatens to override logic. Because after an EMP, you are the clinic, the nurse, the doctor, and the paramedic rolled into one. And remember, in collapse survival, you're not trying to perform miracles. You're trying to stop the little problems from becoming deadly. Number 3, matches, lighters, and fire starters. When the EMP hits, your first instinct might be to reach for a flashlight or a space heater, but within hours you'll realize what humanity has known for thousands of years. Without fire, you are finished. Fire is warmth when hypothermia creeps up in damp clothes. Fire is sterilization when your water source is questionable. Fire is the crackling comfort that keeps morale alive when everything else feels lost. Forget your fancy electronic torches or plasma arc lighters. Those die with the grid. What lasts? Dirt cheap disposable lighters, plain kitchen matches, and clever little tumble packs of fire starters made of cotton, wax, dryer lint, or sawdust. Keep them sealed in plastic baggies to guard against moisture. Grab matchbooks in bulk. Wooden stick matches outperform cardboard ones when conditions are damp. For waterproof insurance, dip matches in melted candle wax to seal the heads or buy stormproof matches when you can afford them. Those taser-like clickers on a propane grill? Useless once their spark cell fries. A simple flint and steel striker tucked away in your kit gives you near-endless sparks even after everything else is out. A smart prepper doesn't trust a single method. Redundancy is survival. Carry 3 ignition sources and stash 2 more in separate bags. Drop a lighter in every coat, a book of matches in each glove box, and a fire starter puck in your wallet. Because when it's raining, your hands are shaking, and you haven't eaten a hot meal in days, trying to spark wet twigs with a lone lighter is how mistakes happen. 1 dry cotton ball soaked in Vaseline and packed in a film canister? That's all the tinder you need for 5 minutes of solid flame, giving even damp wood a chance to catch. Number 2, water containers and filters. Clean water is non-negotiable, yet in modern life, it's the least respected resource. Tap water flows effortlessly. Filters hum quietly in fridges, and people sip bottled brands like fashion statements. When an EMP shreds the grid, all of that ends at once. Electric pumps stop pushing water to sinks, reservoir sensors glitch, chlorination fails, and suddenly the one thing you took for granted becomes the single biggest fight of your day. Here's where dollar store gear becomes priceless. Start with containers. The moment the outage hits, every gallon you can store buys you more time. Those big clear pitchers in the summer aisle? Perfect. Stock up on plastic containers with lids, cheap juice jugs, even unused paint buckets. They're stackable, compact, and easy to fill in a hurry while pressure still exists in your pipes. Pro tip: collapse them and hide spares in every closet. You'll double your emergency capacity when it matters most. Then comes filtration, which doesn't have to mean expensive name brand hardware. Coffee filters make fantastic sediment pre-filters. Pour river or rainwater through one to strain out dirt, grit, and organic debris before treating. Iodine tablets can chemically purify large quantities of water after sediment removal. Always label your dirty and clean containers clearly so you don't contaminate your supply by accident. What about long term? Piece together a gravity filter from 2 stacked buckets. Drill a hole, plug in a ceramic filter element, and voila, slow but effective water purification powered by nothing but gravity. Store extra iodine and bleach out of sunlight, update stock rotation every 6 months, and never rely on just one treatment method. Boiling water over a fire remains your ultimate safety net, but that requires more time, fuel, and fire discipline. Most people who die from dehydration and collapses never ran out of water. They ran out of drinkable water. They drank the wrong thing or waited too long. You won't. Because while others panic and fight for bottled water 2 days too late, you'll already be collecting rainfall in a trash bag-lined barrel and purifying it in dollar store pitchers. With less than $10 in supplies, you'll turn rain, ponds, and puddles into life-giving liquid. Clean water isn't just survival, it's power, and those who have it will control everything else. Number 1, analog, notebook, and pens. When the lights stay out and the internet stays dead, you'll discover something terrifying. We don't just store our pictures, recipes, passwords, addresses, and plans on the internet, we store them only there. Your memory is not as good as you think. That's why the single most powerful post-EMP tool isn't digital at all. It's a $1 composition notebook and a few solid pens. This humble notebook becomes your post-tech command center. You use it to track ration schedules, water purification dates, expiration timelines, and injury logs for members of your group. You sketch quick maps of safe routes, field observations, local hostile sightings, and which neighbors have valuable skills. Without online banking, you record every trade, barter, and IOU to prevent disputes that could turn deadly. You jot down emergency recipes, medicinal herb notes, knot diagrams, Morse code references, and basic first aid steps, because without YouTube, brain fog or stress could make you forget even things you once knew cold. More importantly, this notebook becomes your mental anchor. Writing a simple daily entry like what happened, what you felt, and what you learned preserves your sanity in a world where time blurs and chaos reigns. It helps you analyze patterns, avoid repeating mistakes, and maintain leadership focus. Share notes with your group each morning, and suddenly you've built communication and structure, which are worth more than weapons when panic spreads. Tactical tip: grab multiple notebooks. One for operations, one for personal mental health, one for passwords, contact numbers, old addresses, medicines taken, and asset locations. Keep them sealed in plastic bags with waterproof pens or pencils. A pen writes fast and clear, a pencil won't run dry. Tape a small LED or glow stick to your page for covert note-taking at night. In the absence of screens, this paper isn't quaint, it's revolutionary. It gives you what the unprepared will never get back: memory, discipline, strategy. The brain is powerful, but under stress, it crumbles. The notebook never forgets. So when the EMP flash fades and the world plunges backward 2 centuries, the person with fire still has heat. The person with water still has life. But the person with a notebook still has a plan. So, what did we learn today? When the power is gone and the panic starts, it won't be the high-end gadgets that save you. It'll be the cheap, forgotten tools you had the foresight to grab before the flash. These dollar store items may look insignificant today, but after an EMP, they become the foundation of survival. If this list opened your eyes, hit that subscribe button, tap the bell icon, and stay one step ahead. Question for you: which one of these items would you grab first? And what did we miss that belongs on part 2? Drop your answer in the comments. I'm pinning the smartest one.